All right, folks, glad that you're on the call today. I'm excited to go through this today. Last week we took the opportunity to get a little feedback from you to get some perspective to work into our plans. Today we're going to really focus on making you smarter. A couple topics that are important, some recent changes with Facebook and so forth. So be ready for some sort of deeper thinking on this particular call. As always, any questions that you have related to the content we're covering or just general questions you'd like us to address before we get off the call, post them in the sidebar for us and we'll address them. So as I mentioned, we're going to cover the Facebook updates and what those implications are for you as a publisher as well as for your advertisers and other local businesses. But first, I'm going to quickly revisit some of the directory comparisons and reference a checklist or a comparison chart that is available for you to download, so you can use that in your materials. We're going to talk about viral math, which is related to Facebook and some of the things there, although it's more generic than Facebook. And actually, we'll skip tech updates for the day. I should have removed that. First thing, we've got a nice comparison that we've created, and we're getting ready to update the marketing on your site. Whereas people go to register, they're able to see what's included. This will become a graphic that's visible to them. So hopefully you can see you've got three different comparisons. The upper left is what an unclaimed listing looks like. This could be created by someone when they create an event, could be imported from you, or just basically come from anyone who's not the owner of the listing. Once that owner comes in and claims the listing, or if it doesn't exist, creates a brand new one, you can see what it looks like on the lower left. If they take the time, as in 3, 4, 5 minutes, to upload a logo, add a description, they've got hours of operation, you can see that the system automatically truncates the description, which is just below the natural relaxation day spa, and adds a read more, so you've got an about page. It's basically a mini website. It's a microsite. Below that, you have any events that have been posted to your calendar that also take place at that venue. So it automatically will build out that list, and you've got a review down below. All of them, of course, you can click something to learn more about that particular topic. And then on the right, we have our premium listing. There is an enhanced listing as well, which is a little less expensive than premium, but premium offered the greatest contrast to demonstrate what the value is, so I went with that. You'll notice, obviously, a video that sort of jumps out at you. If they don't have a video on YouTube, but obviously they won't show one here. On the left-hand side, or I guess the left-hand side of this example, under the hours, you've got their Facebook and their Twitter links, and then if they use a Facebook link, it will automatically add what's called a like box to the end of their listing. So they can literally build followers from people who visit your website and don't even go to Facebook. So pretty excited about this. As this rolls out later this week, it'll mark sort of a stabilization point of some new features and a big push to market. The directory will be underway. So look for more from us on this front. We want you to sort of do your part with your emails, maybe some contests, and some things that you put in your print to web content. We do have a graphic that we've created for you. Sorry, the link to the graphic is sort of hiding over the top of it. Don't worry, you don't have to write this down. We're going to make it available to you. But it is something that you can download and you can use either as is or in reformat for your own marketing materials. The local spotlight on the left, sort of the more premium listing, this is something that is basically a premium listing plus some other stuff. Right now that other stuff would be fulfilled by you. Might include things like a featured event or a sponsored piece of content, but there are some upgrades coming in the next few months which will make the Spotlight actually completely self-service. A couple of things to highlight. We've got the 3 Ps listed here: presence, prominence, and promotion. Each of them have benefits when people upgrade. So as upgraded listings are created, they will appear ahead of the lower level listings. So premium ahead of enhanced, enhanced ahead of express, express ahead of unclaimed. So hopefully that makes a little sense. And then you'll also see you get some bolding and highlighting and other things that make you stand out more as you upgrade as well. The promotion is the most interesting piece. It's probably the highest single value piece for premium listings, and that comes in the form of the homepage spotlight. Now, if you don't already have a premium listing or you have a new site, you won't see this. But once you have one, it will appear on your homepage, and there's a couple options where it can appear, and those premium listings will appear there every single time a page loads, whether you have 1 or 50, and the system randomizes it so everyone gets their share of attention. So definitely look for the link here and download that particular graphic. Let us know if you have any questions or feedback on that. Okay, so we're going to talk about Facebook and some of the changes that have happened. Well, if you've gone through our social media portion of our training, you've seen this graphic that if you have, say, 500 fans, the average fan has 230 friends, and so you have a potential second level reach of about 115,000 people. There might be some overlap or so forth, but that's pretty good. And once upon a time, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, if you posted something, it would appear in every one of your fans, everyone who liked your page, it would appear in their newsfeed. And over time, more and more content was produced, because wouldn't you know it, people realize I can market myself for free. So not only did they start using it, but many people started abusing it, and so Facebook introduced this idea of an algorithm which would try to determine if what you're posting should be shown to me. And over time, they've winnowed it down and winnowed it down, and the number of people that your page reaches on average has diminished. So we covered this today because of some news, but also a research report that Ogilvy put out. Ogilvy's a major ad agency. And you can see over the course of just a few months, the average reach from a given Facebook page has been cut in half. So in October, if you had 1,000 fans, your average post would reach 120. As of February, it was 61. Let me repeat that. If you have 1,000 Facebook fans, as of February, the average post that you put up on your page will reach 61. Now, there's a lot of reasons why Facebook did this. Most people think it's because they're evil and they just want to force everyone to pay. And I don't agree that they're evil, but that is probably part of their plan, is that you'll need to pay. But there's this one other thing. And if you look at the right, there's this funnel. The average person on Facebook spends enough time scrolling through their news feed, which is how they primarily consume content, to see approximately 300 pieces of content. This could be, hey, I just had a baby. It could be birthday announcements. It could be things from pages, sites like you or your advertisers. It could be things that someone else found on the internet and hit the like button for. So there's a whole slew of ways that something gets into your feed. And so Facebook has this issue where you get 1,500 things effectively pushed at you, but you can only receive 300. So they had to decide, how do we narrow it down? So what this is saying is 4 out of 5 things that are destined for you never reach you. Now, the alternative, if you want to think of it this way, is Twitter. Twitter does not filter at all. And so they talk about the Twitter stream. It's like a river flowing. And you'll look in and you'll see things pass by, and if you look away, you're going to miss something. But everything theoretically appears there. In either case, you will miss something. Facebook is trying to be smarter about this. So the implication, though, is pretty profound. See, research, or rather a report came out earlier this week that said Facebook announced its target for the foreseeable future is 1 to 2% reach. So now if you have 1,000 fans, you'll reach somewhere between 10 and 20 people. So all of a sudden, the math doesn't really go in your favor. So a lot of publishers, the gut reaction is, well, that just ruined a huge distribution channel. Well, to some extent, it's true. You can't leverage it as much, but there's much more going on here than that. First, let's put you off to the side and think about your advertisers. What does your average advertiser or average local business have in terms of a fan base? Dozens, maybe a few hundred fans. So as they start to get impacted by this, they're going to feel it much more than you, because wouldn't you know it, you have other content distribution channels. They don't really. So it impacts them in some new ways. You can see 500 fans could take a lot of effort to get there, and I reach 10 of them at a time. Don't mistake this to think now I can post 50 times and I'm going to reach 500. You'll still get hammered off of that if you're spamming people. So what we've seen here looks something like this. If you haven't checked your Facebook statistics lately, please do. You're going to see something similar. In this case, they had almost 2,400 fans. This post, the most recent, which I scrolled down and looked to be sort of middle of the road, reached 145 people. So that math sort of works out. It's definitely in that ballpark for what we're seeing. Now, it's important to understand where this impacts you and where it doesn't. So we're going to switch for a minute and we're going to talk about viral concepts. Now, I am not a math professor. This is not necessarily the thing that we communicate frequently, so I'm going to try to cover this effectively, but it's likely you may have some questions just to clear up some communication, so feel free to post. There's a couple of things. First, the phrase viral came about literally because it follows the infectious disease patterns, right? You're sick, you cough near someone, they may catch something and do the same thing, and it continues. And so the notion of viral is very much following real-world concepts. It's also important to note that content very rarely actually goes viral. Now, that's not to mean it doesn't benefit from social sharing, but going viral means the number of people it reaches grows exponentially. Now, it's also important to note why people share. Obviously, funny, sad, exciting, those things people like to share like crazy. My kids love the Frozen movie. And so, you know, they would want to see all sorts of stuff that people shared, you know, singing the Frozen songs and so forth. It's funny, it's entertaining, and so forth. People share because it's significant or it's familiar. You know, an earthquake or a fire that's local, or what we see a lot is a lost dog notice. People share that like crazy. It's familiar, it's relevant, or it's in their best interest. So in many cases, especially when we're running a social promotion, people are literally incentivized to share for either financial gain or social recognition or something, and so they do. So you can break through some of these limitations. So there's three sort of mathematical ideas that you need to have to understand going viral. The first is the initial seed. That is, how many people do I reach with my initial message? If you have a print publication and your circulation is 30,000 people and 2 people read each issue, your initial seed is 60,000 people. Now, they may take that and they may tell their friends what they read, or they may rip it out and mail it to someone. If you do it online, if your reach on Facebook is 10, because you have 500 fans, you reach 2%, your initial seed is 10 people. It's your direct audience. The next thing is viral coefficient. This is a notion of how likely is something to go viral, or how viral did something go. If I hear something and I tell one friend, and that person tells one friend, and that person tells one friend, everyone shared to one person, the viral coefficient is 1. If I share to 2 friends, and they share it to 2 friends, and they share it to 2 friends, the viral coefficient is 2. If I share it with less than one other person, it's under 1, and it can't be below 0. So you'll see the math, how it works out in a minute. There's another concept that's important as well called sharing cycle. Well, it's actually a viral cycle, but it's how quickly people spread it. So something that's really contagious would spread very, very quickly. If it was something that people got sick and then it ran its course in a couple of days, then you'd see it flare up and burn out. If the sharing cycle is short, it's going to grow faster. If it's super long, especially with your message, it may no longer be timely. So, okay, so we've got these concepts. You've got how many people do I reach up front, how likely are they to spread it to other people, and then how long will the process keep going. So I put together 3 examples, just basic examples. Let's pretend that you have a seed reach of 1,000 people in all 3 examples. So let's say maybe you have email, or maybe you have web traffic, or whatever. It can be any combination, but you reach 1,000 people. And let's assume, for the purpose of simplicity, it's digital so that they can easily share it by hitting the like button. And your viral coefficient is 8. Well, 0.8. That means that for 1,000 people, each one will tell 0.8 additional people. So the second generation, people who didn't come to you on their own, will be 800. That's pretty good, 800 additional people, just because someone told, you know, almost a full friend. And that 800 shares to 0.8, and it continues. And you can see it diminishes. So literally this is burning out. So after 11 generations, you reach a total of 4,200 people and change. Now this would actually continue a little further, but it took up too much space and it was negligible. So you can see this is not going viral. This has some viral properties. It's been spread, and you've benefited quite nicely from the fact that people shared it, because you got, you know, 400% lift. But this didn't actually go viral. Now 0.8 is pretty good. Most content is more on the 0.2%. So if I start with 1,000 people, then 200 are second generation, 40 are third, and then by fifth generation it literally is burned out. And my math, I should have updated that there. This looks to be more like 1,250. My apologies. Again, still 25% gain because of viral sharing. That's not nothing, but it's clearly quite finite. Now, what happens when the viral coefficient goes above 1? I made it 1.75. Different things do different things, but if you start off with 1,000 people, second generation is 1,750. Ooh, already, right? Pretty massive gain. But it continues to snowball. It's like compound interest. You're getting 1.75% on 1.75%. And so just by the 8th generation, you're at 115,000 people in reach. Now, being local, you're probably going to cap out because once someone sees something or has already shared or commented, the likelihood of them re-engaging goes down quite a bit. So you've got some finite cap, but the point here is if you can make something sticky, even with only 1,000 people reaching it, it can go viral. And we saw this a few weeks ago with one of our publishers who shared publicly available health inspection reports for local restaurants, and we talked about that in the previous office hours. It looked pretty much like this. So the point is the viral coefficient is a huge, huge factor. And if you have credit card debt, you know the higher your credit card interest rate is, the more painful it is, the longer it takes to pay off, the more you pay. It's sort of the opposite of this particular notion. So hopefully you can see something else too, and that is the size of your initial reach, the size of your seed group, is incredibly important. See, your page has always been just a starting point. It's the striking of the match, and when other people share it, that's the throwing of gasoline on it. And so these updates, while they hurt you in a sense, they don't affect what individuals share. So what you and I personally share to our friends, we're not impacted by the change here. So the key is posting content that other people actually want to share. That was a key before, but it's more obvious now. So what does this all mean for local businesses? It means their Facebook page reach is going to approach 0. And their value is by and large going to approach 0. This isn't entirely true because when someone Googles you or whatever, they might want to see the stuff you're posting. But from a pure ongoing conversation perspective, the value goes very low. It also makes what we've heard some people say, well, maybe I should just do social. It's just completely no way. It's a complete farce. It shows them, it takes them back to pre-internet days in some ways where they need more help than ever. Now they still have SEO, they still have Twitter, they still have other avenues, but the point is Facebook was the most dominant local social media channel for them. What does it mean for you? It means the value of the content you produce on your own website has gone up. It was always valuable before, but it's more valuable by comparison because one of the beautiful things about Facebook was it was sort of self-contained. It was a walled garden, and so people might interact more naturally. But if you can't reach them, it doesn't really matter. So if you have great content on your site, remember, again, when individuals share, they're not affected by this. It just means you're going to drive more people to your website. And, oh, by the way, when someone shares content from your website, you're actually going to improve your search engine results as well. The importance of mixing media has gone way up. Looking at it in a holistic way is really important because you can't just say, well, no, I'm going to reach 1,000 people every time I post to Facebook. That hasn't been very practical for a while, but the value overall has gone way up. And email continues to become more important. Email's not as sexy as social, but let's say you have a modest open rate of 20% and you have 1,000 followers on email. Well, that's 200 people that are going to open and pardon me, and see your message. Excuse me while I mute myself and clear my throat. So you have 200 people who are going to see your message as opposed to perhaps 20 on Facebook. And I should also note, because of the nature of Facebook, engagement is actually slightly lower than email, and we've seen throughout everything that we do, the number of page views that someone consumes when they come from Facebook is the lowest of all data sources. So you not only get more people coming from email than on the equivalent number of followers on Facebook, but they're going to stick around your site longer. So really important stuff to realize that, this kind of stings, especially at face value, but it also means that you are in a position of power when it comes to local businesses, because if you have engagement on your site and you have perhaps a print product and you have a decent Facebook following that you can still tap into, and oh, by the way, you've got email lists, now you've got multiple distribution channels for your businesses who need to reach your audience. And of course, you can buy some Facebook ads as well, should you like to. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of parting thoughts. Media is always going to be changing. It's one of the fastest changing industries, perhaps faster even than medicine. And so you have to accept it and really embrace it, because what other people do, what Facebook does, what Twitter does, what Pinterest, Instagram, what all sorts of local individuals do affects you. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but it's usually a combination of the two. And you need to understand why and how you can navigate, and ideally what your real place is. So, in this case, you literally, I think the net effect of this is a gain for you if you're able to use it to your advantage. And finally, developing authentically local community will always be valuable. There is all this thought of, oh, well, Facebook's going to kill news, Twitter's going to kill this. It's going to change some things, but when you have an authentically local community, that's a hard thing to replicate, and it's hard for everyone else who's trying to do a bunch of other things to come in and compete with you. So with that, a little bit of a shorter call today, obviously a little bit more in depth. This will be available for further review online if you want to watch it again, but definitely spend some time to appreciate what your efforts are. This may change how you spend some of your time on Facebook as a business, and where you shift it to in other ways to maximize your return on that time's investment. So we'll stick around for a couple minutes to answer any questions, and hope it was insightful.